people won't know this, but we were arguing just seconds before we went on air there. And that just sums up this show. We've got so much to get through. It is another Monday, another episode of the Scottish Football Social Club after a weekend full of Scottish Cup action in which 4 Premiership sides were dispatched, including the 2 big boys from the capital, ousted over the weekend. Michael says it's all part of the master plan, Alan, for Hearts to go on and win the league. We'll soon find out, won't we? We love a cup weekend, don't we, Michael?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's certainly plenty of goals, plenty of interesting ties that have come out in the next round as well. That I'm no doubt you'll be looking at later on as well.
We will, and 3 games will be live on Premier Sports, by the way. Those games to be confirmed, but 3 more live matches. Alan, it was noted that you weren't doing the game yesterday for Premier, but that's because you were in the home section, right?
Yes, it's going to come. By the way, you should have seen how busy it was. Tell you, it's been a sellout there at Rugby Park. It's the first it's been seen in a while, but it looks there.
Whoa. Yeah, Steve Clark, since the Steve Clark days, maybe. It'll all change.
Are we digging Killie there?
No, I'm just saying it was nice to see Talbot turning up in the thousands. Yeah, it was good to see.
It was, and they hung in there, by the way. We'll get to that game later on. Just a quick reminder, the Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense. Just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game. Proper odds, no gimmicks. Right, let's just get straight into it then, because we'll rattle through the games. We can't bring you the highlights from every single match, obviously, because we'd never get it in within the hour. But any top flight team involved will show you their highlights, because that's what we do in this show every single week. And maybe a surprise here or there as well. We'll throw in some other goals too. Let's start on Friday then, the game you were doing for Premier Sports, Alan. Rangers against Annan. And I guess it's all about attitude, isn't it? And how you see these games through. 5 goals for Miovski. A heck of a free kick you'll see at the end of this one as well. Were there plenty of positives you think to take from a game with loads of changes in it for the new manager?
Yeah, 9 changes. It was an opportunity for the manager to have a look at 1 or 2. I thought some of them had taken their opportunity. I thought Finlay Curtis was good, especially when he moved over to the right-hand side. He looked really dangerous. Everything kind of went through him, I felt, and he was either creating opportunities, getting balls into the box, and as well for Miovski, it's been very up and down for him. He's come with a decent reputation of scoring goals, and he's not quite hit the ground running. So for him to get a hat-trick, which, by the way, was his first career hat-trick, I didn't know that until Rory mentioned it, I think it's going to kind of fill him with confidence. And look, it's one of those ones, you go and score 5 goals, you get the clean sheet, you're expected to do it. I thought Annan, to be fair, first 10, 15 minutes looked okay. And they gave Rangers a couple of problems, but it was always going to be difficult for them, especially on such a big pitch, to kind of keep that up. So when I'm looking at it, and you're looking at the team that he's put out, I think there's too many players, again, that a game like this, where they should be shining, just passes them by. I mean, the likes of Danilo playing in number 10, I thought he'd done very little. You've got Rothwell in the middle of the pitch that I think he should be doing more to affect the game. I know he puts the ball in for Dill's header, but I just feel there should be more. And look, this was just pure quality. I mean, that angle here, how high, and then the kick back down, I thought was incredible. But yeah, some positives to take out of it, but I feel that there's a number of boys within there that need to move on.
Interesting in Asgard, because you see the talent from time to time, and he's got a few goals recently, but then also seems to disappear from matches. That's the frustration. He needs to take his game to another level. You mentioned Finlay Curtis. Michael, I think we'd mentioned that he was being linked with a loan move. If he's not going to play that many more minutes, it looks as if there's enough about that young man that he needs to go and get a chance somewhere else. And maybe that means it will translate longer term to becoming a more regular player for Rangers.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, all you need to do is look at, the performance put in by Lyle Cameron. I know we'll look at that in a minute. Forgetting all the sort of, the issues and the controversy around the loan from Rangers to Aberdeen. But there's a guy who has got quality, struggling to get game time at Rangers now, but he can go and have a huge impact at one of the, the other biggest clubs in the country. So Finlay Curtis, for me, you want to see young Scottish talent like that getting game time.
Yeah.
And as Alan said there, I felt on Friday night, Friday night for me, for Rangers, is one of those games where there's not a great deal that they can do in terms of, positive wins that come out of it. They did as well as you can expect. I thought everything they did, it comes away, there's 5-0, but then it's the obvious retort is, aye, but it's against Annan. So it's one of those games that they're never going to get too many plaudits, but I thought they did the job very well. As you said there, hat-trick for Miovski, cracking goal from Asgard, clean sheet, and it just continues the momentum for Rangers. And with Finlay Curtis, back to that point, it would be really good to see him either getting more game time, because I think whether he's right side or left side, particularly on the right side, it's not something that has been nailed down by anybody at Rangers. And could he perhaps get more game time there? I'd love to see it, but if it's not going to happen, then the next thing is get him out on loan. Make sure that he's getting minutes and progressing.
I wonder, Alan, if maybe European game ahead against Ludogorets midweek, and I wonder if, given where Rangers are in the competition and almost certainly heading out, you would play him and then maybe send him out on loan, give him one more game, and then maybe towards the end of the window, send him out on loan. We'll see. He's been linked, obviously, with Neil McCann and Kilmarnock, and Neil's worked with him before. Maybe it makes some sense. The other big thing, of course, on Friday, Alan, you saw this, was the new players being unveiled. And the fans just delighted, particularly Skov Olsen, I think. And there's an option to buy there, an expensive option to buy, but some excellent stock. I mean, do you think Rangers... Well, first of all, on the signings, do you like what they've done? And how much more do they need to do you think, to go on to that next level, to become champions? Because it's there for the taking this season.
I still would like to see a couple more, whether it be a centre-half or somebody else up front. Look, I know it's difficult to get a striker. Everybody is in the market for them, and it's very difficult to fill, but that's probably what I'd like to see. But
there's others in for a striker, is there?
Well, aye, you would think so. But
not easy to get one.
I know it's not easy. It's not easy. You need to spend the money. But I just feel the profile that they're going for is guys that are going to come in to make the team better now. And that's what they need. They understand that the title is still there to be won. There's a number of teams chasing it. And if you can get the right recruits at this moment in time, you can really kick on. And Mikey said it there, that right-hand side has been a problem pretty much since Cherny left. So Skov Olsen coming in, 26, 40 caps for Denmark, played at a high level. He ticks all the boxes. So yes, there's a large fee if he does well and you want to buy him. But they're the kind of guys I think Rangers need now for progression to move them forward.
And if he does, I was just going to say, if he does well, okay, it's a large fee, but as Alan's just touched on there, he's 26-year-old. So you're buying somebody potentially who is at a great age. Very similar in regards to, what happened with Cherny. Yeah. I mean, we could go on about that all day long in terms of, the missed opportunity and the reasons why they never signed him. And I don't quite get it. But that was a guy who was coming into his peak years as well, had shown in the full season that he was a class act, a guy who could make a difference in a team that was stuttering, on occasions. He was one of the main go-to guys. So for Skov Olsen, there's an opportunity for him to, perhaps try and fill that void that's been left and never really filled.
And the other thing is, if Rangers, if they were to go on and win the league, they would almost certainly qualify straight into the Champions League because of their seeding. As it is at the moment. That's my understanding anyway. Then you've got the option. So you've got the Champions League money guaranteed at that point. And if it's, 9-10 million pounds, they would have the money to spend on him. And if he's played that well to help them become champions, you'd imagine it would be a no-brainer at that point. But there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before they get to that point, that's for sure. Let's move on to Saturday then, the lunchtime game, Dunfermline against Hibs. I think, first of all, Michael, full credit to Neil Lennon, to Dunfermline, the way they played. I mean, in the end, you could argue they deserved it. I know Hibs had a couple of opportunities that we'll see as well. Yep. But Dunfermline defended really well, set up well, and got their goal late on.
All of that. I think that, I'll be honest, I was a wee bit surprised with a few of the selection choices that David Gray made, because that was never going to be an easy game. Kieran Bowie, he does really well to begin with. He just dummies, puts the goalkeeper down, and he's obviously trying to reverse into their corner. If he just gets a little bit of height on that, it's over the keeper's leg and in the corner. But this game was on edge the whole game. It was you could just sense it was there for anybody, to go and get the victory. And credit to Dunfermline, they made a right fist at it, and obviously a little bit of good fortune at the end with the deflection and the own goal. But I thought they were outstanding. And look, that goes back to my initial point. I was a little bit surprised. I know Chaiwa eventually comes on, but I think if you were making those changes in the middle of the park, he's one that I'd be putting in. Joe Neal's a really good player, has been for Hibs, and he's obviously the club captain as well. I'm not sure that's the first game I'd be chucking him back in for his first start. He's not an athletic type. He's a really nice, composed footballer. But that game against Dunfermline, it's a cup tie as well. It was going to be high energy, up and at them, in your face. I thought there was a few things that, I don't know, maybe
if it was at Easter Road.
Yes, different.
You bring in Joe Neal, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just especially in the middle of the park. And then obviously with Mulligan having to go off, and then he's brought Chaiwa on. But that's a sore one for Hibs, a real sore one, because it sort of feeds into the narrative this season that they're passing up a lot of good opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I will come back to Hibs in just a moment. It didn't help when they lost Mulligan, by the way, to injury in the game either. Yeah. But just on Dunfermline, because I know you've seen a lot of the Championship, Michael. When you look at where they are on the table, that performance at the weekend, I know they've got St Johnstone next. It's a big game. Should they be fighting a bit higher up in the table?
I think if you spoke to Neil Lennon about this, he would tell you that it's probably where he would expect in regards to there's a fair bit of inconsistency in the team, and the Championship is very, very tight. There isn't a great deal amongst a lot of the teams, so they're not a million miles away. I mean, look, the top two are obviously quite clearly, and even with Arbroath sort of sitting in third, it feels like that fourth place in particular in the playoffs between Dunfermline and Ayr at the moment, it feels like there's an opportunity for them to get into the playoffs. And I think start the season, if you'd said to Neil Lennon, playoffs would have been his sort of his target to get them into the playoffs, and potentially, you never know, you get a run at it through the playoffs. I think that his type of character that he is, he can drive a team and get that little bit extra out of them, like we saw at the weekend.
On a one-off match like that, exactly, the playoffs, when you get there, get in there and you never know. Just on Hibs, do you agree, Alan, big missed opportunity on a season where it feels like they've got a lot of talent there at their disposal?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you look at the Cup, they want to go on a good run. They've definitely got the squad to be able to do it. And you do feel that they've kind of missed an opportunity here. And Mikey's right, it's kind of been like that this season. I mean, they get the big win against their rivals and Hearts, and then you want them to then kick on, and you feel like they should be doing that. So I'm sure David Gray would be devastated about going out. He would see that team being able to kind of push forward, but they need to return out of the league and keep going, because it's a strong league this year.
It is, and you saw the comment there, and it just shows you how quickly the narrative can always change, and that is the case this season, the way the league is, the way the cup competitions are as well. A few teams out, of course, so it would have been an opportunity perhaps for a few others to go on a really good cup run. But anyway, Hibs are out. Well done to Dunfermline and Neil Lennon progressing. On to Dundee United against Ayr United then, 2-0 in the end. Dundee United, I think, as the game went on, Alan, created more and more opportunities. I think, again, you would say in the end, probably deserving here.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think it was important for Dundee United to kind of bounce back. It was always going to be a difficult game against Ayr. Dundee United have had a couple of poor results recently, and Ayr were always going to make it difficult. I mean, under Scott Brown, they were going to come with a game plan, make it hard for them to break them down, and that's kind of exactly what happened in the first half. I thought second half, Dundee United started to move the ball about a lot quicker, move it from side to side. We know they've got a threat. They went strong. I mean, that was real good play from
this was
Ferry
a huge game for them.
Muller. It was. You just felt that they needed something.
Great finish.
Yeah. It was to actually win the ball back and then continue on, play the 1-2. Kamara then gets on the end of it and scores a really good goal. They deserve to win for me. I think the second half they look good, they look strong, and Jim Goodwin needed that result, you feel, and they'll sense an opportunity as well, like you're saying, with the two Edinburgh clubs going out. There's an opportunity moving forward, but they needed that. I felt like they needed it. But look, Ayr done well in the first half, just couldn't hold on.
They do play an Edinburgh club next. Not one of the big boys I mentioned earlier, but Spartans in the next round. It is. The draw is open for Dundee United. Neil Ferrugia coming in as well, apparently an adaptable player at wing-back in from Barnsley. But I do think Dundee United needed that because it has been up and down, stop-start at times this season, Michael, and obviously a couple of poor results recently.
I mean, if Dundee United had gone out at home against a team for the Championship, that would have been a real bad one. But they've not. They've got through, and it was. I agree with Hutch in terms of. I think in the end, they probably deserve to get through, and it's ended up. Particularly Kamara's goal late on is a really good finish, but 2 good goals. But Ayr United, and this feeds into what we've just been talking about with the Championship. They're a competitive team, and like Neil Lennon, obviously with Scott Brown in charge, is a guy who can really motivate and get that extra bit out of them. The Championship's going to be very, very intriguing to see how the second half of the campaign, plays out and who's going to get into those playoff spots and how it affects who's going to finish second bottom of the Premiership. Because I think there's a few teams in the Championship that will fancy their chances. For Dundee United, obviously, it's onwards and upwards now. They have to use that as a wee bit of motivation because 6th place in the top flight is up for grabs, but they need to put on they need to get a bit of a run going. And it's not looked like the last month like they're really in a position to do that. So they need to use that cup win there as a little bit of a springboard. And
Michael, just go back to Ayr. Who's more likely, do you think, to be in the promotion picture right at the end of the season, Dunfermline or Ayr United? From what you've seen.
I think the two of them are going to be in there scrapping for the playoff spots. In terms of like automatic promotion, I think it's quite clear that St Johnstone are the top team.
Yes.
Partick Thistle are trying to close them down. I think Arbroath as a part-time team have done unbelievably well, really, really good. And it may well be that it's a shootout between Ayr and Dunfermline to try and get the last spot in the playoffs.
Plenty of storylines around that, if that's the way it finishes, that's for sure. Alan, on to Kilmarnock against Dundee, an absolute rip that decided this game in the end. We talked about Neil McCann needing a result, though, and obviously they didn't get it here. I think Dundee had a lot of good chances, played some good stuff in this game too, scored another really good goal. But the opening goal by Dom Thompson, you thought, is this going to set the tone for Killie? Is this the start of something? Didn't transpire again.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's a great strike off both posts from Dom Thompson, and you feel that they just need something to get them going. But you need to understand, they're coming up against a Dundee side that's full of confidence. Yogan, Congreve, guys who can cause problems. Danda, Hay. I mean, he's got pace to get in behind. He's confident after recent goals, and Killie just struggled. I mean, then you end up with 2 guys sent off. That's not how you show your commitment to try and get out the kind of mess that you're in. You just kind of end up letting your team down.
We know they needed a goalie. They bring in Kel Roos, and this is well on your debut. If one thing goes wrong, it all goes wrong.
He's got a lot of experience. Danda just whacks the ball up in there. Look, you can't get a daily record under near the two of them. I mean, they can't even jump. You're thinking, just somebody communicate, somebody talk. There's just nothing between it. And I just feel like when you are low in confidence and you are struggling, things like that tend to happen. You actually see Robbie Dees looking over his shoulder is he going to come? And then he thinks, I don't think he is, so I'll just jump for it. And they end up just getting in each other's way and then drops down, bang, goal. And it's just Kilmarnock. It's just Kilmarnock at this moment in time. Everything seems to be going against them. But somebody needs to have to take charge of that situation. Open your mouth, shout, and then that's it. You can deal with it then. But look, to come in your debut and make a kind of rick like that is devastating. But you heard Neil McCann after it. I mean, he wasn't messing about his words when he says he wasn't interested in the cup. It's all about the league. I don't think many fans were happy with that, but they want to see the club doing well in a cup competition. But the bread and butter's league, he needs to get out of that position and he needs to get them going.
See, I think we all get what Neil's trying to say there, but see when it's a mistake like that from the goalkeeper you've just brought in the first, your debut, the concern is that, all right, write the cup off, but it's very difficult for fans, players, managers to be able to separate off the mental fragility there.
Yeah,
you're 1-0 up with a cracking goal. Dundee come back in with a wonderful goal as well, and then to lose it like that,
It feels worse. It makes it feel worse.
Yes, it does. And as much as, all right, it's the cup, we forget about that because we're focusing on the league. It doesn't really work like that. All it does is it shifts the pressure onto the next game, even more so that it's like they need to get a performance, need to get some sort of result. And it's a concern. When I look at Kelly, and I know obviously this is the cup, but we've got to look at the context of the league. When Kelly went down a few seasons ago, it felt like they never got the goalkeeper position sorted out. All season long, they were chasing goalkeepers coming in, injury, next keeper, and that there, you think to yourself, Kelly Roos, for the majority of his time at Aberdeen, you're thinking, oh yeah, good, solid. Laterally, he was prone to a wee mistake, and now that on his debut at Kelly as well, you're thinking, not again. Like It's getting to desperation state, I think, for Kelly. They need something to happen to trigger a revival here.
Yeah. So much credit to Dundee, though, Michael. I know we've said this, in weeks gone by, but Stephen Presley is starting to get a lot right. And he said it would take time, and he wanted to build towards the January transfer window. Yep. He wanted to bring players in. It feels like the balance to the team is much better than it was, say, 2 months ago when we were saying, where's the attacking threat coming from? And can you get Simon Murray back up to speed? All of a sudden now, it feels like, A, they've got options, but B, there's also interest in their players. It's not just about bringing players in. It's also trying to keep some of their best players. Luke Graham, I think a bid's come in from Portsmouth, I believe, and he was obviously linked with Aberdeen when Yemi Talina is there. If they want to kick on, and they've got Celtic, by the way, in the cup, not a kind draw, but you never know. Why not? You never know. They've got to keep guys like Luke Graham a while longer, don't they? And let them play for, another 50, 60 appearances next season.
Yeah, well, I would be surprised if they were... I would be surprised if he was to go, especially in January here just now. I don't think that's going to happen. But, first and foremost, it has been a slow boil for Dundee. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It was a huge turnover in players, and we spoke about this endlessly about, getting rid of Tony Dockett, and it felt like they were adding to the stress and the turnover as a club. But Stephen Presley's come in, and I think now, obviously, prior to the Hearts game, 3 wins in a week. The Hearts game comes along for a large chunk of that. They were pretty good as well, but they've lost, and then they've reacted really well there against Kelly in the cup, because I thought their overall performance was good. And you hit the nail on the head when you look at the side. I think Hutz just mentioned it a few moments ago. You start to look at the threats they've got as an attacking entity, and you go, they're no bad, and they're starting to, there's an element of familiarity with the team now as well. I think Ethan Hamilton in the middle of the park is a standout. I really do. If I was at some of the, no disrespect to Dundee, but if I was at some of the bigger clubs in the country, I'd be looking at Ethan Hamilton, because I think he's got a bit of everything.
What kind of club, Michael?
Well, just some of the bigger clubs, the ones that are in the top 6 currently. But obviously that's where Dundee have got aspirations to get to. I think he's athletic. He's got predominantly left-footed, but 2 good feet, drives forward. I think he's a real good player. So that's what I mean in terms of there's a bit of familiarity about the team. Guys that you're looking at that are becoming a bit more consistent in their performances, and they've got a threat. So, long may that continue for Dundee.
On to Livingston, St Mirren. They needed penalties to decide this one, Alan. In the end, these two teams, by the way, are meeting again this midweek, tomorrow night, which is a huge game in league terms. But Stephen Robinson was so unhappy with what he got from his players the last few weeks, saying they'd let him down after the cup final. A couple of players back from injury as well, like Killian Phillips. That was good news. Their goalkeeper was fit too. In the end, they found a way here. Actually, it was a good game with plenty of chances.
Yeah, it ended up quite an open game, to be fair, but you're right, Stephen Robinson hasn't been happy, and he was questioning the players. Look, they've had their injury problems, so he was looking for a reaction in this game. Ultimately, he got it, but to be fair, Livy, I thought they played some good football. I mean, that we know that they can do it. Arfield back in, he can nick you a goal, and he does it there. But, I mean, they just can't buy one at this moment in time. For as much as they do play decent football at times, they just can't get
These
it over
kind of late
the line.
chances just not going in, are they?
Exactly, you need to be clinical, and I think that's been something that's kind of haunted them for this season, where they are creating opportunities and then they can't take them. But somebody had to win it, and it ended up it was St Mirren, and I'm sure Stephen Robinson will be chuffed to go through to the next round of obviously the cup. But it's about them kicking on now. They're down in that kind of bottom section of the league at this moment in time. I know they've got games in hand and stuff, but they need to really kick on, and it's been difficult since the cup. So they need to get back on track, start winning games, and they'll climb up the table. But for Livingston, I think it's going to be a struggle.
Well, it's no wins in 21 games now. Scott Arfield obviously was the real plus scoring there, but it's the same sort of thing we said about Kelly having not won since October. Sometimes you just need that confidence boost. It doesn't matter if it's the cup, whatever it is, you get a victory somehow and it just kicks on. You build some momentum, and they clearly don't have any of that at the moment. Just on St Mirren, it's Airdrie next for them away in the next round, Michael. You know, of this season, of all seasons, I've said it before, maybe they could be the Cup Kings. We saw St Johnstone doing it a few seasons ago, but they've got the talent in their team on any given day, especially if some of those players are back for injury. But by the later rounds, if they get past Airdrie, why not?
Yeah, well, that's I mean, that's obviously the key thing, is that that they try and build a little bit of momentum prior to the next round, because Airdrie away is not a tie that
tough game.
Aye, you're not really it's not like you're thinking, oh, it's a nice wee game to look forward to. That's going to be a difficult tie, and the way St Mirren are at the moment, it very much is sort of taking baby steps to try and get a little bit of belief back. We've spoken endlessly about the decisions that have gone against them and how that's affected the mentality, the confidence, the belief. And as much as they need to forget about it, it can be difficult. And the easiest and the best way to forget about it is getting a few results, getting a bit of belief back, starting to feel like actually we are capable of getting results. So, I mean, look, you make a valid point. They could be the
but they've got that kind of team, don't they? Some other players. If the strikers are all fit as well, on any day they can stretch an opposition team. We saw it in the semi-final as well in the League Cup, the Premier Sports Cup. They can score great goals too. It's not all just the typical football that people say, oh, St Mirren get the ball forwards quickly. I mean, they play some good stuff.
Yeah, they do. And look, coupled with the fact that obviously the two main clubs for Edinburgh have gone out, you just look at it and you say, like, it starts to open things up slightly. Stephen Robinson's probably hoping for Celtic and Rangers to draw each other at one stage as well.
That's all it takes, so doesn't it? I mean, Aberdeen and Motherwell next, for instance.
Yeah. So it could be, and I think if you were fast forward to the end of the season and Stephen Robinson was getting his hands on the Scottish Cup as well, he would give a bottom six finish to get two cup victories. You better believe it.
They might have to build two statues. Right on to Motherwell, Ross County then. Stewart Kettlewell up against his old team again. That's happened already this season. Motherwell, the story just goes on though, doesn't it, Alan? They've made a signing as well tonight. Thor has been added. Bjorn Golfsson. Thor's in. Bjorn Golfsson. I've just seen it there. A striker, 6'3", looks quite a physical presence, has scored some goals. A free agent. I guess the questions after this game really are that can they continue to hold on to the best players they've got now? And I say that because you see Martin O'Neill sitting in the stand. Who's he watching? Who knows? But then Maswinise has been in great form. He's played well against Celtic this season, scores the winning goal, had other opportunities in the match. Do you think that's who he's there having a good look at?
I'd probably imagine so, if I'm totally honest. It's probably an area where Celtic need to strengthen, and he scored a number of good goals this season. He's been a main part of that team. But, I mean, of course, Stewart Kettlewell would have wanted to go there and win and get one over in his old team. But, he's got bigger things to concentrate with in terms of the league. But it's interesting that obviously Motherwell went and got a striker, because I still feel that that's what they need. They play amazing football. They create a lot of chances. Even in that game, they created a lot. But they just need to be clinical. Yes, they have scored goals, but I just feel for the amount that they create, they should be scoring more. But I've really enjoyed watching them this season. They play some really attractive stuff. So, yeah, it'll be good to see if they can now kick on, get the striker in, hopefully can score goals for them. And, yeah, they've played really well this season.
Their fans just will hope it's not one in, one out, Michael. They'll hope it's actually adding at the moment. Look, on Maswinise, to me, it looks like he's even gone up a gear, if that's possible, since he came back from AFCON. He scored a wonderful goal over there. It caught sort of international attention. I'm sure there'll be clubs all over Europe that have seen what Motherwell are doing this season, what he's doing as well. So just let's say Celtic did come in and manage to get the deal done, Michael. Is he the type of player then that could step up again to a team where there's pressure on you every single week to deliver?
Well, you never know until they make the move. But I think he's got the potential to step up. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I said it plenty last season when I saw him playing for Motherwell, and I was always surprised that he wasn't one of the first names on the team sheet, because last year it felt like it was a side that really struggled as a threat, an attacking threat, and he was somebody that had great pace, and he had an end product. The collective unit has obviously helped massively, and a real sort of clarity of what they're trying to do has brought the best out of him, along with a number of other players. Could he step up to a Celtic? But I tell you what, I mean, if you look at the right hand side, and I know he's played a lot more centrally, but he drifts a fair bit, and there's a bit of license to sort of roam and find the space. He can play on the right hand side. That there is no question, and that is a trouble position for Celtic. They've never filled it. So, for what would be in relative terms, now I know Motherwell would be like spewing at it to suggest, but
all the fans will be raging.
In relative terms, if you were to invest in Masmanisi, it wouldn't be, crazy sums of money. A few million quid, that's nothing for Celtic. So I think when you're recruiting domestically, the upside of these transfers are potentially very big, and the downside to it, I think, is limited, because you're not bursting the bank to go and get these people.
Yeah, Motherwell will be desperate to keep their best players and their manager as well. The longer it goes on, some of these other teams, managerial vacancies, like in the Granite City, their fans will just be in the back of their mind. I can't see it happening now, but you just never know. And it is Aberdeen against Motherwell in the cup next round. It could happen, Al, could it?
Can you imagine? That'd be some story. I can't see it.
See, this season, I just expect these stories to happen. I'll be
well,
quite
to be fair, it's probably the one season where that sort of stuff could go on. It has been a crazy old season, but I can't see that, if I'm totally honest.
I'll be honest, neither can I, and I think Aberdeen might be looking elsewhere as well. We shall see, okay?
You got to be inside track there, Darrell.
Well, he seems positive, doesn't he?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily I'm positive. I don't know that much, but I know there's a few other people who maybe they're having discussions with. Right, on to Saturday evening then. Michael, you were there to see Hearts against Falkirk. Look, we'll get to the Jambos, of course, connotations, how they move on, big games ahead, all that kind of stuff. But Falkirk, what a season they're having, Michael. I talk about the Motherwell, the feel-good factor. The story just rolls on. Same for John McGlynn and Falkirk.
Brilliant. I mean, they're outstanding. When I heard
handball.
Well, it's funny you say that, Alan.
Can we come back to that one, please? Let's talk Falkirk.
Yes, we'll talk Falkirk first. And this guy, Lisa, I tell you, he's been outstanding for them.
Superb.
I mean, on loan from Swansea. Wilson obviously came on the second half. I thought the subs from John McGlynn were brilliant. 3 positive attacking subs at half time, and they made a huge difference. Lisa obviously setting up the goal. Parkinson, one of the subs, coming on and scoring. I thought Falkirk over the piece, I don't think anybody could deny them getting through. I know it's obviously penalties in the end with Kabangu missing, but I thought over the piece, after midweek where they were clearly going to be disappointed with not taking anything against Celtic, and I thought they were very good then, they came to Tynecastle against Hearts, who undefeated at home. I know obviously inside 90 minutes it's a draw, but they've won the tie. They've got through, and I thought they were brilliant. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Tate, Spencer in the middle of the park, brilliant on the ball. Connor Allen at the back, another young Scottish player that has been brought in, and you just look at them and you go, these are talented guys.
They don't concede many goals.
No, they do not. So John McGlynn is doing a great job. He's quite rightly obviously starting to get touted for other jobs as well. But very much in the same vein as obviously Jens Bertolauskas, I hope he hangs around at Falkirk, because the job he's done there is quite incredible. It really is. And it's you talk about St Mirren obviously being the Cup Kings. This is the sort of season that you would not be surprised if there was an opportunity for another club to potentially get their hands on a trophy. And with John McGlynn in charge at Falkirk, it may well just be the fairy tale of fairy tales. Yeah. League One 2 seasons ago, back-to-back promotions, into the top flight, sitting in the top 6, just knocked the league leaders out the cup away from home. It's an incredible story.
It really is, isn't it, Alan? So much credit to them. I mean, as I say, we'll get to the Jambos, but I know you'd probably like to heap some praise in Falkirk too.
No, do you know what? We went and seen them midweek, and I said at the start of the show that they've probably flown under the radar ever so slightly just because everything else that's happened in this league. But they're there in merit. They've got a comfortable cushion at this moment in time. If they went on to win that game, the Celtic game, which would have been difficult, I know, but they would have been close to 5th in Hibs. I just feel they've been brilliant. I mean, that first half against Celtic, I thought they were excellent.
Yeah.
They've brought in reinforcements, top end of the pitch, what I think will help them towards the end of the season if they can get some goals. Because defensively, they've improved as the seasons went on. I worried about them at the start of the season, but I think they've got so much better. They understand what this league's all about and what it entails, and then they're playing attractive football, and they'll get results that way. So, look, thoroughly deserved it. And they're just going about their business in a good way.
See the likes of Conor Allen, like obviously that's 2 games inside a week that we've done, and I've seen him plenty more as well this season so far. I just think you can't applaud John McGlynn enough for that type of thing, because it goes back to what you're saying about Finlay Curtis, on the edges of the first team at Rangers, getting out and getting game time. I look at Conor Allen now, and I'm again, like Ethan Hamilton, there's quality players in Scotland, be it a Championship or be it in the Premiership, but again, with the greatest respect, not the biggest clubs, that you look at and go, they're capable of stepping up again. They really are. And, it's a difficult blow to go from a big club like Rangers not making it and then trying to kickstart again. And John McGlynn seems to have the perfect formula in terms of being able to reinvigorate these guys, getting them a platform to play and going showing their qualities. Because I think Conor Allen, he's made a big difference to Falkirk, because Hutton spoke about it at the start of the season, and so did I, where they were conceding far too many cheap goals defensively, and it was undermining a lot of good work. I think since he's come in, he's really solidified that backline. He's a quality player.
And players that come into the team like Ben Parkinson making an impact. Heard him saying after the game, "We can go on and win the cup now."
Yeah,
Listen, why not? You've got to dream big. Why not? It's that kind of year. And by the way, they've got Stenhouse Muir next, which could be a great cup tie for loads of reasons. We'll come back to Stenhouse Muir a wee bit later on, but they obviously had a great result at the weekend. One of the surprises, if you can call it that, over the weekend. On to Hearts then, just to talk about the Jambos. It's a massive week, Michael, isn't it? And of course, I laugh and say, maybe this helps them in the league. Maybe it does, but also I think on the season with the squad they've got, why not go for a cup run as well? But there are injuries now. It's worrying when you see Shankland hobbling off. Devlin obviously is a massive blow. Beningame is suspended, isn't he, against Celtic as well. So there's issues there, but I thought it was really interesting after the game that Derek McInnes was so on the front foot, Michael. We had him on the show a few months ago and he was saying, potentially we'll strengthen in January. Now it's right, we're going to have meetings and we'll see what we can do to get this problem kind of sorted. They know there's an opportunity and the club are right on the front foot, seemingly. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously it's become a more acute issue due to the fact that it's midfield in particular. It's sort of come together at a difficult time leading into what is the biggest game of the season so far at home against Celtic. To have McEntee out, Ajou's been out for a long time. Now you've got Devlin out, Beningame suspended, and looked like he was maybe struggling a wee bit as well. So I don't know if there's, maybe another couple of weeks of an injury there. Plus Beningame's had injuries over the time, so you don't want to be left short. So you're really looking at Magnuson and nothing else. Tried to put Harry Milne, which I can understand because I thought about that as well, thinking that's the guy that he would look to try in the middle of the park. It wasn't a huge success, I've got to say. Maybe that's down to Falkirk having played so well. There's a number of contributing factors there. 3 games in quick succession, 3 games in 6 days it was. 2 of the games obviously down to 10 men. Yeah. It definitely seemed like the edge was off. And with the injuries there as well, there's a concern. Now, Sunday comes around fast for Hearts. Are they going to be able to recruit and bring in a midfielder? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, as the point you were alluding to there,
that they'll be doing everything to perhaps look to speed up, a deal that they might have had lined up for the end of the season, thinking, let's just get this done now.
Yeah. Well, listen, what a game it is this weekend.
Huge.
To look ahead to. And also the other thing. Listen, we welcome back to Celtic, but they're away in Italy with a big European game prior to that, Alan. So, but what a game!
Look at how smug Hutton's looking.
He's changed now, by the way. He's changed now.
Just let me live. Just something's got to give. That's
do you
all
want
I'm
to win,
saying.
Alan?
I don't mind as long as something gives. I don't mind.
Something's got to give.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So look, if Rangers take care of business and then you see what happens in that game, I just think it's just turning out to be a real exciting season. So I'm looking forward to it. Mikey mentions that. He's making me laugh. Mikey mentions that about Hearts. A lot did go against them in those 6 days, playing 3 games down to 10 men, the injury situation. Celtic are playing in Europe, big game. They need to win. So full focus will be on that. But they'll know come Sunday, that's an absolute monster game for them, that both teams will be absolutely desperate to win to maintain that level up there. So, yeah, I can't wait for this weekend.
Just a couple of things, Michael. Obviously, Rogers Mato, the deal is done for the end of the season. Another deal done for the end of the season.
Yep.
I mean, from what you've seen, what you've read about him, do you like that deal? And obviously, there is an opportunity. Perhaps it could be done now.
Yeah, but it's not obviously it's not resolving the issue of the middle of the park. I think that's
I know, but just on Rogers Mato for Hearts fans watching,
something that's different. A bit more physicality at the top end of the park, can play, centrally or off the side. I think that it's one that is difficult to predict because we don't know a great deal. This is clearly another Jamestown Analytics where they're plucking somebody from far-flung regions of Europe here.
And his club took it well.
Yeah, clearly. So, I mean, I don't know, in all honesty, in terms of saying, yes, that's a huge success. But what happens over a period of time is when you start to see what occurs with other signings, it builds up belief and confidence that they can find more of that type. Yeah, so if he ends up being anything like, the impact that Braga and Kizaridis in particular, then you would say, well, that long may that continue, those types coming in. Josh McPake's obviously been confirmed as well. Yes. Now these are the types of signings, young Scottish talent. I know he's probably about 24, maybe 25 now, Josh McPake. Still young though, and got loads of ability. So I think it's key that you get that balance between domestic Scottish talent while going out and finding those guys that are a little bit more unknown. Yeah. And obviously they'll be hoping on Sunday that there's no controversial decisions either that take part of the game.
Well, listen, you've just teed it up then, because I promised we'd go back to this. And no, we did. Maybe Hearts were one of the teams that were wishing that VAR wasn't in operation at the weekend, because there was obviously a choice, wasn't there, for clubs. Let's do the handball first then, Magnuson. What I would say is, right, just to throw my tuppence worth in here, because we've seen this all season, the goal's given, right? So VAR have to be absolutely certain that this hits his hand. Alan, I think you were saying
his forearm, his right forearm.
How do we know that's not the back?
Yeah.
What do you mean it's not the back?
How do we know it's not hit the defender's back? You
because it's his arm.
That's the case, can you?
Well, in my opinion, it's his arm. I mean, I'm only telling you what I'm seeing. It looks like to me that it hits his forearm there.
But see,
that's what it looks like.
You know what's interesting here, Alan? Because I've spoken to quite a few other folk that are adamant, but you know what they think? Some of the other people I've spoken to, they think it hits his left hand. They think it hits his left hand. They don't see his right hand. They think it hits his left hand.
No, it's his right.
But this feeds into the point I'm trying to make. As Darrell just said there, for VAR to get involved and disallow a goal, there needs to be definitive that it's hit. And
look at that again. I know you're saying the arm is there, Alan, but you can't see exactly where the ball is compared to hands.
But you're asking my opinion.
Very millisecond though, Alan, you're saying it's hitting the arm. It could also have hit the player's back. And this is the problem. How can VAR make the decision unless they know?
Yes, I'm totally agree with that. But you're asking my opinion, and my opinion was, it looks to me that it hits the forearm of his right arm.
See,
that's what it looks like to me.
And I can see that too.
But you know,
so that was my opinion. That's all I'm saying.
That's like, again, and I've watched that so many times, and like, I'm actually scratching my head thinking it's amazing how, like, it's almost like an optical illusion, because I genuinely, when the first 10 times I looked at that, could not see anything about hitting an arm. I thought that people were talking about his hand that was on his back, that it was hitting. And I'm looking and going, I don't see it. And then some people were telling me, no, it's his left hand. And then it's confusing me even more. And to me, it's like an optical illusion. You can almost see what you want to see. And I'm guilty of that as well, because I looked at that and my instinct straight away was, I thought it was his back. It's hit his back, bounced off.
It's like what Graham Gibb just said there, Michael. It does feel at times like we're desperately trying to disallow goals. Same with Milne, by the way, Aberdeen, and we'll come to that. It's like, how long can you look at something to try and find a contact with something illegal? And to me, that just gets a bit laborious. Same all the time.
And Darrell, here's the thing. You hit the nail on the head there. It's a definitive to disallow, right? See if the referee had given a handball, then to me, that had to be the decision that you stuck with, because you can't tell one way or the other. The decision was goal, and the language that's used by VAR is it's a factual overturn.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can factually say from those angles that does hit a hand.
Yeah.
It may look like from certain positions, and I totally get, because when, speaking to a few different people, when they start to say, no, it's hit there, you look at it and go, oh yeah, it does look like that. But it's amazing how, when I initially looked at that, all I see is it comes off what I would think is his back, just above his hip, almost, is where I thought it came off. Hence why it went in that direction. But fundamentally, for me, it's another instance where VAR gets involved in an incident that shouldn't, because it doesn't know for definite.
Yeah,
and short goal before or not, but the goal was disallowed for the handball, and that's why obviously we're talking about that. Just on that, then, okay, maybe this is a Hearts fan getting in touch. It clearly is.
Darrell, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I'll say one more thing. Let me be very clear. This doesn't diminish from the fact that Falkirk were very good. Of course.
We've heaped it praise on them.
Falkirk were outstanding, and they deserve to probably go through. But you can't get away from what were. And there was another one, obviously.
Well, let's have a look at it. Blair Spittle.
Shocking.
Because you think this is a stick-on, right?
Well, I don't know how you can think anything else. Again, take nothing away from Falkirk, but that's a clear-cut penalty.
He doesn't mean the trip, does he?
But there's lots of instances in a box where you don't mean something.
I agree.
I just don't know.
For me, it was a penalty. I just think I've been in the situation as like a kind of more forward-thinking fullback, and obviously the opposite when I've given one away, and you get caught in the wrong position. You're wrong side. You start to panic a little bit, and when you're running at pace, you can quite clearly see there he clips his heel, and he's always going to get down when he's running at that speed, and it's a penalty for me.
And Darrell, the thing that happened...
Huge moments, Michael, like you say. Huge moments. Doesn't take anything away from Falkirk. They've been brilliant this season. We've said that. But unfortunately, this season, there's been too many of these talking points. I keep saying inconsistency. It's actually
everyone maybe are talking about it.
I wasn't even sure, by the way, going back to Lewis Mayo, the red card at Kilmarnock, the second one. I know the goalkeeper's out his goal. I just think there's so many question marks you could have over big decisions this season. But obviously, right now, we're just sticking with the ones in the Hearts-Falkirk game.
See the one with Spittle? I genuinely believe, that there was a passage of play after that where the game didn't stop for maybe a minute. And I honestly believe that VAR didn't even see it, or they forgot about it and didn't look at it. Because I don't know how you could look at that and come to any other conclusion than I think you need to go and have a look at that to the referee. I honestly believe they didn't even see it.
The funny thing is, at times, it's felt like VAR just wanted to have nothing to do with decisions like that, not get involved in the game. Obviously, when it comes to goals, they're going to have a real close look and things like handballs, but it's how long they're looking for. Anyway, come on, let's move forward again onto the Sunday games. Aberdeen against Raith Rovers. The Dons needed just a goal to get through this one, Alan. I mean, they needed a little bit of positivity, didn't they, with everything that's going on? Managerial search that's going on. A few Dons fans today were not happy with you two at all, talking about Lutz Van Steele sitting on the bench, saying Aberdeen made it very clear that he was going to be sitting on the bench and part of the coaching staff at the moment. You had your comments last week. But regardless, they needed to win this game, didn't they, against Raith Rovers at home?
They had to. they had to. I mean, it's been a run of poor performances, poor results, can't score a goal. They need something, and they've just kind of looked lost. And listen, I'm not blaming Peter leaving. He's trying to do the best job possible. He's in a difficult situation, and like having your sporting director, I said it before, sitting on the bench, I don't understand. That's just my opinion.
That's what happens in Germany often, and that's what Lutz Pannenstiel's background is. I know you're saying not here, but don't we have to be open to that sort of thing?
How annoying would that be? You're trying to take the team, they're struggling, that there's lack of direction there. When I watch them, I don't really know what kind of team they are or what they're trying to do. And then you turn around and your sporting director, they're asking to have a wee chat with you. They're like, just sit up in the stand and then we can talk after the game or whatever. I just don't think it's a good look. Anyway, they had to get something out of this game. And I do believe that they need some sort of direction. They need a new manager in as soon as possible. They score a good goal, they go up 1-0, and then everything becomes a little bit disjointed after that. They look a little bit nervy. Even like this, see if that's an Aberdeen team who's fully confident. Carlson's just going and hitting that. I mean, I know people were saying about the pitch and stuff. This is a guy with so much talent that
a Bologna player
across, you just side foot it into the net, or you at least hit the target. And I just think that all this comes from a lack of confidence. Definitely, especially in front of goal. They've got a lot of attacking threat, but just kind of misfiring at this moment in time. Look, they get it over the line. I think a Dougie Emery side will always try and play football, and they had a couple of opportunities, make it difficult for them, but it was really important that they got the victory. But looking forward, I think they need somebody in that's going to start steering the ship in the right direction, and the direction that they want the club to move in.
Well, look at that. There's the Dons fan just coming on there and obviously saying the football has been dreadful to watch. And I think that's been apparent for a while. Look, we won't be able to get into Raith Rovers. Michael, I think you've got a point to make, but I do also want to talk about Lyle Cameron and his introduction to the team, because it raised a lot of eyebrows, given how much hatred there is between Aberdeen and Rangers. For Aberdeen to loan a player from Rangers without the option to buy. And you saw the banner, probably Aberdeen fans as well. I know a lot of the other Dons fans, they did give him a good ovation towards the end of the game. And some of the set-piece deliveries that he was put into the box were excellent. Not saying he can't make a difference, but is there anything wrong with it from your point of view, Michael, given the history between the teams?
Well, you can't ignore it completely, because obviously the fans are hugely important. But
of course,
you need to have the courage and convictions in regards to he's a quality player. He can make a difference with performances, quality performances. It's inevitably going to turn opinions, because there'll be fans there that don't have an issue with it. They might be a little bit uncomfortable, but they don't have an issue with it. And at the moment, you could pick the bones out of it and say, "Oh, you should have an option to buy," all that sort of stuff. But you don't. You've got a quality player in who's going to make a difference. In the bigger grand scheme, of things, yes, if Aberdeen were in a good place, you wouldn't be looking to do something like that. But they're not. They're really not at the moment. And I think for the here and the now, it's something that I think the majority of supporters won't turn their nose up at. But you can't, from a club's perspective, of course, you're not going to ignore the feelings or the thoughts of the supporters. But they're not in a great place at the moment, like, the message that just came through there. Yeah. But the one thing I was going to say about the game was, I can't quite believe that, I think it was Nicky Devlin that got pulled down.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
unreal.
I don't understand how.
I don't even think we need to debate that one. No. Just very quickly, because we've got another game to get through. Here we are, we're approaching an hour again, Alan. Who'd have thought? Just on Lyle Cameron, the situation. Alan, you played in that fixture. You know it better than anyone, therefore, on this chat here tonight. Any issue for you?
Look, I think it's always going to be a difficult situation. We all know the rivalry between the clubs, but I think Mikey's right on what he says. It's a young boy with lots of talent who can help them move forward, and you turn the fans' opinion round by your performances. So if he got a man of the match there, so if he continues on that form, and then I think the fans will come round to it. But look, you see the banner and everything. It's not ideal.
And the comment that was just on screen about your own young players.
That's Graham. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't ignore the punters, and in the bigger picture, it's not ideal, because Graham Gibb makes a fair point.
Absolutely.
But they're not there at the moment, Aberdeen. They're not.
They'll never know if they're not playing, that's for sure. Right, let's get on to Auchinleck Talbot against Celtic. Alan, as I said, you were obviously in the home end for this one. The game was moved, which wasn't ideal, but there was
a lot of friends that were there. I had a lot of friends that were there.
I bet you did. But in the end,
shouting abuse at us.
Celtic in the end, Alan, they found a way. But it was the longer that went on at 1-0, you just thought, oh my goodness me, and the pressure from the fans, singing actually sign a player at one point, which is embarrassing. But they did get the job done in the end. They'll be delighted when that good second goal flew in. Yeah,
of course they would. I mean, Auchinleck were always going to make it difficult. It was a big ask for Auchinleck to get anything. They had a couple opportunities. At 1-0, you were thinking, could they maybe nick something, and then it's taken away from them with Celtic. Look, they made 10 changes, and you can totally understand why. But I always felt when I was watching it, I mean, as much as Celtic at times did kind of huff and puff, and Talbot were decent defensively, you just always thought they were going to eventually break them down. And from a Talbot point of view, when you're defending that deep and you've not really got a focal point up top to go and hit and hold the ball in and get runners round, it's always going to be difficult. So look, they get the job done. They probably made it more difficult. I mean, this is a great bit of skill to net you back in the team. Cuts inside, great
the
finish.
Subs made a difference.
And that, of course, and that seals the deal. But look, do you know what it reminds me of a little bit when I think about the Rangers performance, this performance? There's a lot of kind of fringe players, if you want, that Martin O'Neill's looking at to see what he needs to do in the summer, and they don't do enough. The likes of Balaquisha, guys like that, I don't think do enough for me. And
are you suggesting Martin O'Neill's staying on long term now?
You never know. I thought he was quality after listening to him. Some of his kind of one-liners and that's excellent. But he'll be desperate. He knows they need players in to help that squad.
Yeah. And apparently there was a meeting today with members of the board at Lennoxtown. So you'd imagine the urgency that Martin O'Neill knows that's there should now be translated. And Michael, just very briefly, something needs to happen very soon.
Yeah, but it's been that way for a year, Darrell.
But this is reaching beyond boiling point now.
Well, I think it is beyond boiling point. The managers have changed, but the situation remains. Their inability to be able to recruit properly is there glaring for all to see. Talking about Martin O'Neill, I wouldn't be surprised if he does perhaps stay on in some capacity. And I don't think that would be the worst thing either, because there's a lot of healing that needs to go on at Celtic. And he's the type of figure that potentially could do a lot of good there. And also with identifying some players, because the previous incumbents, Tisdale, and then obviously Wilfried Nonsi that was in the manager's role briefly, they've clearly said whatever they were looking at before, forget about them, we need to start again. And that's not easy. They've got a short window here to try and recruit quality. And I would not be betting, I'm not a gambling man, but I would not be betting that they will definitely get what they need in this window. Just from past experience and what's going on, and looking at and trying to read between the lines, they're having to do a lot of work in a short space of time here.
Oh, no doubt. The pressure's on big time, and there is so much of a demand to get this right. And they will bring players in, I'm sure of it. Will they be the right players at this stage? Who knows? And we won't see the Stenhousemuir goals against Morton, but we should say one of the results of the weekend, Michael, Gary Naismith in charge, top of League One, Falkirk next. What a game that's going to be, and full credit to them.
It'll be an absolute cracker. A local derby. Gary Naismith's doing an incredible job. Obviously got promoted out of League Two last year. They're sitting top of League One now. I know they've played a couple of games extra ahead of Inverness Cally Thistle, but they're right in the hunt there. Right in the hunt to potentially get back-to-back promotions. And they've got this derby game against Falkirk. And
they can look at Falkirk, who were in League One a couple of years ago. A bit of inspiration. Why not? Listen, also, we should say Spartans got a great result as well against Inverness, knocked them out. That was on penalties. So they're through too. I think they're playing Dundee United, said that earlier. Just before we go, some games to come. Don't forget, into February, you'll see Hibs against Rangers, which is an absolutely cracking game. That's the 1st of February. 10th of February, the Edinburgh Derby. And then on the 21st of February, St Mirren against Motherwell 2. So loads of games to come, and 3 live games to be named from the next round in the Scottish Cup. 3 live televised games to come. We're out of time. See you next week. Bye for now.